Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
Are you guys ready to party?
that's what we're going to do today. Happy Cinco de Mayo, brother. Thanks for tuning in to the House Rules podcast. We got myself here, Carter Bastine with the Line Lending, and the one and only John Bienkowski. Who you representing?
Representing the Century 21 signature in Flushing, and I'm happy to be the realtor side, a dynamic duo.
John, so you're working with a client, and she heard from her sister's cousin's brother's uncle that it's a buyer's market out there. Is this what you're seeing?
Yeah, so everybody that I talk to that knows me, that knows somebody that I know, that knows my mom, she's pretty well known in the community, very involved with things going on in the community and whatnot. They'll come up to her and ask her on, their daughter's behalf, like, is it a buyer's market? I got this article that came across my desk from Redfin, and they're saying it's a buyer's market. It's time to buy right now. What is the reality of the situation? What is the reality? Do we just take this article at face value and believe it? Or do we do a little bit of our own research, or do we trust the experts that are involved dealing with the industry every single day? And to them, I would say, yes, it's always a buyer's market. A lot of different variables. It's not really a one-size-fits-all blanket statement. It's a buyer's market. It's hard to say that because you could say that about any time in history, especially now. It can be argued that right now is the hardest time in history to buy a home. The true answer to the question is it depends. And nobody likes to hear that answer, but I have to do a little bit more diving in and digging, if you will, to figure out whether or not it's a buyer's market for you or for your daughter, for your uncle, for your uncle's sister.
Depending on where you're at, you might remember from your economic classes back in high school, location, location, location. And that's a big part of it. Technically here in Michigan, I think 29% of homes are still selling over asking price was the latest number I saw back from like March. And we've only got about 3 months worth of supply currently. Healthy range would be somewhere around 5 to 6 months of supply. So it's really leaning towards the sellers overall in Michigan. But your specific zip code is not going to be the same thing that you see in the headlines. They could be talking about a market somewhere else that's booming right now, when in your individual market, it might not be the same exact thing going on. Yeah, what are you seeing in Genesee County? How's it looking out there?
So Genesee County, we're still dealing with a little bit of inventory shortages. While it still might be a buyer's market, there's pockets of Genesee County that are very lively for inventory. There's other pockets that might be more favorable to buyers, and you can just kind of say that and assume that because there's less inventory. That means that the buyer pool is buying up more of the houses and there's less inventory in that area. So you can kind of see that preference being more centralized in certain areas. But that might cause buyers to divert their search radius just a little bit. Okay, maybe you want to be in town. Okay, great. That's fine. But maybe you wouldn't be opposed to being out in the country a little bit. Maybe a little bit longer drive to the highways, to stores, to churches, schools, etc. But you're willing to put up with that drive. So it's kind of expanding your list of non-negotiables a little bit just to get yourself into a home. While the home might be perfect and the yard might be perfect, you might have a pole barn, you might have some wooded areas in between you and your neighbors or whatever it may be. You like the house, but the location might not fit your bill per se perfectly, but you're willing to accommodate that. You're willing to settle in that regard, but not settle overall. So it's being able to be flexible, be a flexible buyer, and you're going to find more opportunities than if you're a stubborn buyer, I guess. And I don't want to call anybody out for being a stubborn buyer. Maybe people thinking they know that they're stubborn buyers and they know it's a big financial decision and they should be picky to some extent, but at the same time, open up your mind to other opportunities because those can be there and that can give you more options than you think you have at the given time.
Yeah, would you say most of the time, when I know that no two buyers are the same, but would you say most of the time people are looking in like one particular school district that they want to be, or are they pretty open-minded to like the location in a general area? It's kind of a hard question, but if you can. Best.
Yeah. So school districts, yes. With school of choice, you can be a little bit further out and you can kind of go to a school that is outside of your school district from where your house sits. So that's not as much of an issue as it is the taxes for the property taxes within that municipality, whether you're in the township, whether you're in the city, whether you're on the outskirts, but you can still get to the township where your school is located. It's very doable. Sometimes a lot of these places, a lot of these municipalities, especially in Genesee County, in my neck of the woods, they kind of overlap each other and they have weird lines that they're drawn around them. So you can find yourself on one street and have a different tax bracket than 100 feet away on the same street. And that's the case for pretty much every municipality in every state in the entire country. The differences in taxes based on the difference in municipality can be staggering. And that can tell you whether you qualify for a house or you don't. So it's important to get that stuff figured out. And it's important to consult with your lender to figure that out and make sure you qualify for that house.
From what I hear, Genesee County actually, in the most part, it is favoring buyers as far as, what's available, what's out there, and compared to other major metro areas in the state, I guess you could say. Like, how Michigan's population is, it's concentrated into mainly Detroit, Lansing, Flint, and Grand Rapids is 90% of the population right there. So it's interesting though, as far as I wasn't looking at the entire state, but just looking at like Flint area, which I guess is very buyer friendly. As far as the comparison of whether it's a buyer's or seller's market, it's definitely favoring buyers out in your area. But then it said like Grand Blanc and Davidson, some of the suburbs, it's kind of where it switches over and it leans towards the seller. It might be a little bit more competitive. Grand Rapids is leading the entire state right now. 9 days on market on average in Grand Rapids, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And, like 5 offers per home. And I've definitely seen that too. It's like, it's been competitive. Every time people are putting offers in, we'll be putting in offers 30,000 over asking, and we're not even able to win that deal. So how do you deal with people getting frustrated in their home search if they're not able to get their first offer accepted?
Yeah, definitely. So working with clients in the Metro Detroit area, actually Royal Oak, in this case is, it's one of those suburbs of Detroit, just like Flushing, just like Davison, just like Clio, just like Swartz Creek. These are cities that are not in the city center per se, just like Royal Oak, Ferndale, Madison Heights, Clawson,
Birmingham,
Berkeley.
Royal Oak, yeah.
Right. All those areas have city centers, but they're not the city center, which is Detroit. They're suburbs that have their own city centers. So people flock to those suburb city centers, if that makes sense. So what I tell buyers that might not find their home, and they might have to find a home in Royal Oak or in Ferndale or in Clio or in Flushing, where that becomes a little bit more of a narrow search that we have to kind of wait and see. We can only do with what's available in the area right now. Otherwise, we just got to sit and wait for people to sell or poke around and say, hey, you looking to sell in the next 6 months? Ask around, go knock doors. There's certain things we can do as realtors to do that extra work for our clients. And we do that, regularly. So what I tell them is be as flexible as you can. If you have a solid situation right now where you're living at a house, maybe you're in a neighborhood and you want to get some property, just stick it out for a little bit longer. It's tough to say that. It's tough to request, hey, can you just wait a little bit? Because nobody wants to wait. They want it right now. But if they're willing to hold out and they're staunch and determined and they're dead set on having a certain property, a certain amount of property that surrounds the house, they want to get vacant land and then build, they want to find that perfect property that fits their needs, then they're just going to have to wait if they want it in a certain area. If they're willing to expand their radius a little bit, then they don't have to wait as long and they can find that opportunity. The problem is if they do find that and just how luck works, one's going to come up as soon as they buy that property in that outside radius search. So
right
that's
after.
that. Yeah, right after. And that's the risk you got to take. But to be able to expand that radius and not have that luxury of the prime location with the short commute to work, whatever it may be, you might have to make an adjustment with location. That's the biggest and hardest adjustment to make, is the adjustment to a different location than your search area. So, but that's how you kind of get around that low inventory, that it's not available right now. That mentality is by expanding your search radius.
Copy that. Yeah. So overall here in Oakland County, I think it went up, the average days on market from like 27 to 36 days. But that's not to say that areas like Royal Oak you mentioned, or Birmingham or Troy, those are still hot areas. They're highly sought after. So I think that there's definitely pockets of locations. And if you're not willing to expand a little bit, maybe check out Ferndale. It's a great place. Hazel Park, there's a lot of little metro Detroit areas and cities around here that are great places to live that might not be the city that somebody had in mind. Maybe they do have to expand their search a little bit. Around this time of year, it's like it gets more competitive during peak buying season. So I think right now, especially, it's even more important to be as flexible as you're able to in order to consider some nearby locations if it is super competitive in the market you're looking in.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of great suburbs in Oakland County that have great city centers. They have the great downtown lifestyle atmosphere. Everything is great down there. But really, no matter, you can pick any of those suburbs and city centers out of a hat, and you're going to have a great atmosphere, a great nightlife. You're going to be able to find everything you want, no matter what age you are. And being a little bit of flexible, having a little bit of flexibility in that search is going to help you tenfold, because you're going to find more opportunities than you would if you were narrow on one location, on one city. And the same can be said about Genesee County as well with its suburbs. There's a lot of great ones there, and they're all very accessible, within 15, 20 minutes of each other. So really, unless you want to walk to work, there's really no reason that you should be, unless, in family, they're all accessible within 15, 20 minutes. It's a very simple drive for most people to do. And to be within a distance of, I'd say, a max 20, 25 minutes, it shouldn't be too difficult. And I don't want to make these calls for buyers. They got to make these calls and decisions, and to be flexible or not, they got to make those decisions on their own. But they just have to know that the less flexible they are, the more narrow their search is, the less opportunities are going to present themselves in that timely manner, which everybody's looking for, that timely manner. So to be flexible and to have a little wider of a search radius is only going to help your buying time and your duration from pre-approval to receiving the keys at closing. So something to think about.
Yeah, and you said it right there. Opportunity. Regardless of what it is on paper, whether it's a seller's or buyer's market, whatever you want to consider it, is that in practice, I think that there is a lot of, in a strong seller's market even, there is a lot of opportunity for finding the right home by finding these unique listings and people that are willing to put in a little bit of work maybe, but they present a strong opportunity, because those are also going to be the ones that are going to appreciate the most, right? If they're highly sought after, there's a lot of competition in that area. And with that demand, that's what makes the price go up. So, or one of the things that makes the price go up. So, it's like it does, by waiting it out, I think it has its benefit as well to be able to find that right home. But then there's also, what's your timeline? How long can you wait to be able to find a home? So I think it's kind of finding the balance of how much somebody's willing to wait for that right home to come up and know that they're going to have to probably put in multiple offers that might be over asking price until they finally get one accepted. Or is it somebody they know their lease is coming to an end at the end of the month and they've got to make that move as soon as possible and they want to buy?
Great point you just brought up. The sense of urgency for every buyer is different. You might have a kid on the way. You might have 2 kids already and you got another kid on the way. You need space. You need to find a place, and time is running out. Time is running out because you are getting cramped in your current location. So you have to find a house. Need a little bit more space. That's different than the single guy that is fresh out of college, that has a nice job, that has good financing, no dependents yet. Maybe he's living with mom and dad, but he doesn't want to do that forever. So there is a sense of urgency there, but it's not, it has to be done yesterday type of sense of urgency. So there's different senses of urgency. And other people, like people that are retired, baby boomers, they might have a house that's paid off and they're fine in that situation right now until the perfect home comes up. These people are in completely different wavelengths, different timelines, if you will, with their sense of urgency and when they need to get into a new home. So everybody's on a timeline, though. That has to be considered. Everybody is on a timeline.
What's interesting to me too is like you said, you mentioned property taxes and those being a lot different depending on exactly where you're at, is even the average price points. When you look at like Flint area under 100,000 versus if you look at like Birmingham area where it's probably around 400,000 median sales price or more. So it's like, in the property tax differences on top of that as well. So it's like that plays into how flexible somebody is able to be too with their search, because what are they able to qualify for? And I think that can make a big difference too, is especially if you're in one of those areas that happens to be like Ferndale, when I mentioned earlier, it does give people quite a big break compared to some of the areas that are just down the street. But then you can go just down the street into Detroit a little bit more and get some of those prices where the median's also on average closer to under 100K. So I think that you've got to take that into account too with the search. So you got the time aspect of it, but you've also got the cost and how much they can afford. So there's a lot that goes into finding that right place. And at the end of the day, you can't time the market. So you're going to have to figure out what your timeline is, work with your realtor, work with your lender, and figure out what that is together and put together a plan so that you're going to make sure that you're sticking to that timeline and that we can help them get into a home in a timely manner.
You're right. You can't time the market. And the perfect example when it comes to not being able to time the market is, you know this better than anybody, the interest rate. So people saw rates come down to 6. They're like, there's people that in one pool that were like, I want to take advantage of the 6%. I don't have as good of an interest rate. Maybe I want to refinance. Maybe I was thinking about buying, but I had a rate at 2% during COVID and I don't want to get rid of that. But I can deal with 6 or sub 6. So they made that jump and they took that opportunity. Other people, they have that 2%. They saw the 5.99, they saw the sub 6 rates come up. And they're like, you know what? Let's see how much better they can get because I want to get as close to that 2% as we can. Then they go up to 2.5 and, you know, they're steadily, I think, climbing. I don't think they're going down to 6 anytime real soon. I could be wrong.
No, you're
But
right.
they
They're going to go back up. We'll see.
Right. And they
Gotta
missed the
get, yeah.
boat. You missed the boat. So it's like how close you want to get and how greedy do you want to get with the rate? Not only the opportunities with the houses and the taxes and all that other stuff, but the rate. Because that all has to be brought into the conversation as well. But like you said, you can't time the market, whether you're looking for a good sales price, whether you're looking for a great price and also a turnkey residence. You don't want to put a lot of work into it, don't want to put a lot of money into it, and you can't time the rate. But at the same time, those opportunities, like you said earlier, going back to an earlier point, those opportunities for high ROI are going to be those houses that aren't turnkey right now. Maybe it's not down to the studs. It doesn't have to be gutted, but it can be lived in and worked on room by room, one at a time. Those are the best opportunities for ROI, especially in a volatile market, especially in Oakland County where it's really volatile. I mean, we think it's volatile here in Genesee County. I mean, it's on a whole nother level in Oakland County. Being able to find those opportunities, see what you can handle, see what you can afford, and making sure you don't bite off too much, finding that ROI and finding that good ratio can provide some good opportunities, especially when you go to sell.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. And I think when rates are relatively higher, it's some of the best opportunities for the long-term ROI because you may have to pay a slightly higher interest rate right now. You can always refinance, but if you look at over time, like home prices, they might dip down and level out and, normalize, whatever it is, but they're going up. Especially when interest rates do start coming down, they're going to be going up. So by waiting, we did a whole episode on the cost of waiting, but by waiting, you can end up being in a worse position because when rates do come down, if you're already in that home, you're not going to have to worry about cash buyers swooping in, stealing the home of your dreams from you because it's going to get a lot more competitive and that's going to drive prices up too. So it's going to drive up the appreciation of the homes that they already own. And instead of having additional loan amount that they're going to have to get, they're going to be having additional equity because they were able to get into the home quicker. And not to mention, motivated sellers are going to be offering seller concessions in some instances too. So, when the price or the interest rate might not be ideal for what people are looking for, that's some of the best opportunity for people to go out and find the right home and get into that home before the competition does get a lot tougher.
Absolutely. It's really interesting how a lot of this stuff is connected, isn't it? And we're not even trying to do this, but especially when we talk about the cost of waiting and is it a buyer's market? Those two topics right there at face value are already interconnected in a lot of ways. And we've just displayed that with the similarities that they present themselves with. Like you said, the more you wait, the less opportunity you will have because you are giving up the most valuable asset, which is time. Whether you're living it with mom and dad and things are great, maybe you're paying $0 in rent. You have no idea. You have no idea the amount of equity that you're losing out on. And not only that, but your independence, your freedom, your ability to grow and succeed, both mentally and physically. Those are being diminished. And without getting too far away from the real estate side of it, it's healthier for your mental health to be out of mom and dad's place. And I don't think I'm even going on a limb saying that. It's the right thing to do. And if you think it's feasible, consult with the experts and find out if it is feasible for your situation. And if it is, do everything in your power to do it, to make it a reality, because you will never regret it. Honestly, on the contrary, I think you will regret it if you don't do it. Exhaust every opportunity that you have to get into a house because you will not regret it, whether or not it's a buyer's market. So I'm going to say, just to answer your question from the beginning, is it a buyer's market? Yes, it's always a buyer's market. But I think that some of these articles and some of these stories that people hear might mislead them. So do your research, consult with the experts. Don't believe these articles and these news clippings at face value. That's all.
You can't trust the headlines because, I mean, even just here in Michigan, we talked about it. Michigan's not one market. It's at least 7 different markets, major markets, that all have different stories of what's going on, of whether it's a buyer's or seller's market. So you've got to work with your realtor, work with your lender, work with the experts to figure out what's going on in the past 90 days in your market and what the opportunity might be for you. National headlines aren't going to tell you what's going on in your zip code.
Exactly. Yes. And I'm amazed just working with buyers in different zip codes, literally within an hour and a half from each other, how astronomically different those markets are for buyers and for sellers, conversely. Astronomically different. You'd think you were in another state if you're shopping in Genesee County and then going down to Oakland County, Ferndale, Berkeley, Hazel Park, you name it.
Even within Genesee County, right?
Even within
if you're
Genesee
looking at
County,
Flint
right.
compared to Davidson.
Exactly. So from county to county, it's different, but also municipality to municipality, it can be astronomically different. And like we said, it all has the trickle down effect from the direct city center, which essentially forms the suburbs, right? And then those city centers. These are your villages, these are your towns, these are your smaller cities. There's differences and intricacies in and out with each of those local municipalities, those small towns and villages from one to the next. And it's really amazing to see. So to say it is a buyer's market or to say it's not is too much of a blanket statement. It's like saying it's sunny out. Where? Exactly. So having that specificity when you make a statement like that, and that's what these headlines are for. That's what they are trying to do. They're trying to have a knee-jerk reaction to the reader, to the watcher, to the listener. And I'm not about that. I don't like that just because I think it misleads buyers, it misleads borrowers, and I think that puts them in an area of being less educated on the entire situation that they might be in. That might be a very important situation for them at that given time. They're less informed reading an article like that. Consult with the experts. It's the best thing I can say.
And that's what we're trying to do, is eliminate any uncertainty for everyone involved. Not only for our buyer to let them know exactly what's going on with the market, what the strategy is going forward, but then also when we're presenting our offer, we want to give the seller certainty, and we know whether or not there's a good chance of getting that offer accepted when we put it in there. But before we even find that property, let's kind of go back a little bit. I mean, I know people are probably, even working with you as a buyer's agent, are probably doing their own searches elsewhere, like on Zillow and things of that nature. I think one thing that's kind of cool is the ability to be able to see the homes that have been on the market in your area for longer than one of the filters you can sort it by is homes that have been on the market for longer than like 30 days, or homes that have had a recent price cut. To me, it seems like those are sellers that might be more willing to offer some seller concessions, which can help buyers with those closing costs. So I think that that's a good tool. I mean, do you incorporate that into your search at all sometimes, or is it more so based on what the client's telling you what they're looking for?
Depends on the client. Do they want a turnkey residence, or they want something they could put a little bit of work in? Are they a handyman, so to speak? Do they know people that are handymen to be able to work on these things that might not be perfect right now? And we can see those on the showing, and the pictures even sometimes. What are they looking for? How are they considering their ROI? Are they concerned about their ROI right now? All these are questions that have to be asked. I like looking at homes that have been on the market for 2 months because, one, if it's not glaringly obvious what's wrong with it, I have to get in there, and I'm going to be showing that to my clients, sending that their way, whether it's an email or a text, and say, hey,
I'm
I
sure
think we should
there
go
are
check this
times
out.
too where it's just missed opportunity, right? On other people's parts, where there might be that golden opportunity out there that's just sitting on the market, and it might not be because it's distressed. It might just be because the right eyes haven't seen that home yet. So I think that if you can
Exactly.
find those before others, then it creates a remarkable opportunity.
Yeah, it really does. And it might just be a weird floor plan. It might be the kitchen is a little bit blocked off compared to the living space. Whatever it is, the rooms might be a little bit small. The thing is, there's a house out there for everybody. And that house that's been on the market for 2 months, it might not have anything structurally wrong with it. You got to get in there and check it out and go through it with a fine tooth comb. But it might be a great opportunity, especially if your buyers are handy people that are either very involved in some of the trades, electricians, plumbers, builders, you name it. Maybe it's just cosmetics that needs to be done. Maybe it just needs to be updated. They're either the professionals themselves, or they're self-taught, or they know people, or there's people in the family that are in those trades. So they're willing to take on an opportunity like that for the ROI, for the opportunity. So it's all about the opportunity. It's all about, what can I get this house for? What can I put it in to make it livable and updated and the way I want it? And on top of all that, what can I sell it for when I do go to sell? If there's margins there, if there's profit and money to be made, then it's advantageous to take on that opportunity. So I encourage buyers to do it. And I'm always talking to buyers, exhaust all their options when it comes to getting into something that might not be the way you want it right now, but it can be what you want it to be in due time with a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of hard work. So a lot of times that juice can be worth the squeeze.
Heck yeah, I love it. And I think in summary, that's really what we're here for, is to help people be prepared. We're in a market right now that's going to reward people that are prepared for when that opportunity does come up. So you can't make assumptions based on what the headlines read, based on what your friend, sister's uncle told you. You've got to work with the experts, and you've got to figure out what the deal is in your market. You've got to create a plan and a strategy, and we're going to help you get there together. Whether it is a seller's or a buyer's market, it's a buyer's market, and there's opportunity out there. We've just got to find it. There's some moving parts that might be a little bit different on our end, but on the buyer's end, it's really not that much different either way. You might get more seller concessions in a market that favors the buyers, but the opportunity is there. And if you're prepared, you can go and capitalize on it.
Yeah. Be undeterred. Be unafraid. Be somebody that disregards what's in the headlines. No matter what you read in these headlines, it's going to sound like the odds are stacked against you. That's not the reality of the situation. I read somewhere, and it might be true, this is the hardest time to buy a house in the modern era since the United States has been a country.
Hardest time to buy anything.
Hardest time to buy anything. Be undeterred. Go out and do what it takes to do it anyway, because you can't pause time. You got to make it happen. So having that motivation, having that mentality of, I'm going to get it done no matter what the situation is, no matter what odds are stacked against me. Having that mentality is step one. And counting on the experts to get you to the finish line, it makes all the difference.
And yeah, just because it's harder right now, I think that it doesn't mean that you're going to be in a worse off situation. If you do get your offer accepted and you do find that right home, then things could work out in your favor, and the best opportunities are right now.
Well said.
That does it for us, I think, this episode. You got any closing remarks, John?
I just want to say happy Cinco de Mayo. It's a party, a fiesta, if you will. And we have a great time. We have a lot of fun over here. So I'm hoping you guys are having some fun with us. Thank you. I probably shouldn't do anything with my hands, right?
I mean, if you want to, it's just like a shoulder dance. No, I think we're good.
Okay.